So you're an ambitious Christian man. You want to be extremely successful, make as big of an impact as possible. But at the same time, you want to put God first above all things. It is harder than ever to do that. I mean, half the internet is just telling you hustle culture, work as hard as you can, make a name for yourself, and you know that isn't going to work. Then the other side of the internet is Christian influencers that just say, be still and know God is there. You don't need to work that hard. You shouldn't make that an idol. And you know it's not an idol. You know it's not the primary focus, but it still does matter. You'd be lying to yourself if you said otherwise. So here is the perfect schedule, the one that allows you to develop yourself into the man God has called you to be successful, but first and foremost, put him above all things. My name is Nate, and I personally use a schedule like this every single day. I'm a Christian entrepreneur who at the age of 22 has built a successful online company where I help Christian men just like you become the man God called them to be physically, mentally, and spiritually. And at the same time, I've been able to get engaged to my fiance, who I'm marrying later this year. So I know how to balance these things. By all means, I am not perfect, and I don't follow this schedule every day, but it's the basic blueprint I stick to in order to help me succeed. A lot of this routine is built around being an entrepreneur and self-employed. But if you work for somebody else or you're in school, still listen up, because these disciplines will still make a massive difference in your life. I'm going to talk later in the video about how to optimize your routine for the best sleep possible. But first and foremost, we have to know that sleep is from God. It isn't about working as much as you can and forgetting to sleep. No, God has designed your body to need 8 hours. Psalm 127 reminds us that we shouldn't be doing our work outside of God's will. And when we do it inside his will, he gives his beloved sleep. So if you're trusting in God and you're following his path, he's going to allow you to rest. Yes, he's going to make you work hard. You should be working hard as a man of God, but it isn't going to come at the expense of you getting no sleep at all consistently. Somewhere between 5 and 6:30, you need to be waking up. Now, I'm not saying that you have to wake up at this hour to be successful, but I also don't know anybody in my life who's been very successful who gets up whenever they feel like it. Let's face it, you're not going to want to wake up at this hour. You never will. But if you are in control of your body at this hour, you're denying your fleshly desire for comfort, and you're going and getting after your day, you're going to be in control. But if not, you're just going to be playing catch up while everybody else around you has had those hours to prepare. So it is critical that you wake up early and get ready to crush it. Once you've mustered the courage to wake up, it's time to crush your routine. What you're going to start with is a cold shower. I know, again, you're wanting to click off this video. I know you don't want to wake up early. I know you don't want to do a cold shower, but this is one of the best things for you. It's changed my life. Not only are you denying your flesh comfort once again, but you are also jolting your body awake. You will not want to go back to sleep. After that, get some form of movement and electrolytes in your body, and then you're spending time with God. This is the most important thing at the start of your day. Now, do you have to start your day with Bible reading and prayer? Not necessarily. It says that nowhere in the Bible. However, it does say that Jesus, the literal God incarnate, went out away from everybody else in the morning to spend time with the Father. You need to start your day giving God the first and best of your time. And plus, if you're waiting for later in the day, things might stack up and you may not have that focused time you need to grow in your relationship with God. So make this a priority. Do it before you get on social media or do any key tasks. After your time with God, you're going to be eating a high protein breakfast and exercising. The reason I avoid carbs in the morning is because they produce serotonin in your brain, which is going to make you a little bit tired. But once you eat right, go hit a good workout. I like working out in the morning most days because I don't like pushing it to later in the day. Sometimes things are going to stack up, but if you have the time, work out in the morning. You may not be strong right away, but as you get used to this, you're going to be stronger and you're going to feel so refreshed, energized, and focused for the rest of your day. Once I've tackled my mind, body, and spirit tasks for the day, it's time to dive into some work. Regardless of whether you work for somebody else, you go to school, or if you're an entrepreneur like me, you need to be asking yourself one question. If there was only one thing I could do today, what would it be? Find that one needle mover in your business or in your schooling, your learning, whatever it is. Find that task and knock it out first thing. If you do that right away, the rest of the work from there is going to be easier and you're going to be so much more productive. I try to get into a flow state as early as I can, being as productive and focused as I can early in the day. So later in the day, I can do the tasks that require a little bit less brain power. This next piece is the one that's affected me the most when I don't do it. And you really need to be doing it as well if you want to stay close to God. Let's face it, you don't hear God's voice because he's quiet. You don't hear his voice because your mind is too loud. We live in a world with constant overstimulation, And if all day you're just working, hearing all these things, scrolling and all that, you're not going to be able to hear God's voice. So it's critical, whether you're on your lunch break, in between classes, or just after a break from your deep work, that you spend some time just doing nothing. Allow yourself to think, breathe, pray, and then spend some time learning. You want to be building your brain, doing things that aren't overstimulating you, and setting yourself up for success for the rest of the day. I notice a massive difference on the days that I do this compared to the ones I'm not. And again, I'm not perfect with this, but it's something that has been such a game changer for me. And then I hop into my second work period of the day. This is where I'm doing slightly less brain power tasks because I already knocked out my needle mover, and now that I've had lunch, I've had some carbs, I don't have that level of focus. So I'm doing my meetings, I'm doing my editing. I can still handle those deep work tasks if I need to, but ideally I don't like to. But if you have to, go ahead and get through them. Just, I would recommend having a little bit less carbs at lunch. This time for me could last 2 hours, it could last 5. I can't stand the people who just flex the amount of hours they work, thinking they have some form of superiority over those who work a little bit less. Your goal should not be busyness. It should be productivity. There are some days you need to work 12 to 14 hours. As a man of God, you have to work extremely hard to provide for your family. Whether you have one now or not, you should be prepared to do that. However, there are some days where you can work a little bit less, and that is okay. It is about getting the needle mover out of the day, being effective and making a difference, not just checking off boxes just to say, oh, I worked for 14 hours today. That's not what it's about. So some days I'm working until 7, some days I'm working until 5, and then I move into the next period. Once I've knocked out my work, it's time for some fellowship, some fun, or some health, whatever it is for that day. You need to be spending time with good men who uplift you, who convict you and compete with you to make you the best man of God possible. And if you haven't had time to work out in the morning, you better be doing that now. And don't be sedentary either. 1 hour of exercise and 23 hours of just sitting around isn't good enough. So move throughout the day regardless of what you did in the morning. And then make sure you're having fun. You're not supposed to just be constantly suffering. It's okay to live a little. Don't beat yourself up. If you've gotten your needle mover out of the way, it's okay to go do something you enjoy as long as it still glorifies God. Quite possibly the most important period of my day is this last one because it sets me up for the next one. I prioritize developing myself as much as I can. Now, in the future, as I get married pretty soon, this is going to change. But during this time, I try to be alone and I just try to be quiet. I'll spend some time reading. I'll spend some time journaling, spend some time praying, just reflecting on my day, thinking about what I did incorrectly and what I did well. Because if you're not learning, if you're not picking up on patterns, if you're not taking something from that day, it was a waste. And you're going to stay in a cycle of mediocrity. But if you recognize that and take that action to grow from it, it's going to make a massive difference in your life. And then I optimize myself for the best sleep possible. I remove all overhead light. I drop my room down to 68 degrees. Then I just spend the last 30 to 60 minutes without any technology to overstimulate me. I get quiet, I spend my time with God, and I'm ready to crush the next day. On top of this, I have a few weekly requirements. I always make sure that I have a Sabbath once a week. I'm eliminating screen time as much as possible and just spending it with my fiance and my family. I'm also prioritizing fellowship. I'm not hanging out with friends every day, and oftentimes I'll only see them once a week. But having that community and accountability has made such a difference in my life. And if you don't have it, you need to find it. I also seek to challenge myself in some way. Whether it's doing something completely out of my comfort zone or just pushing myself to get up earlier than I did the week before, I am pushing myself in that way, striving to get better every single week. Service of others is critical for me. One of the best ways to deepen your faith is to help somebody else discover theirs. So you should be discipling somebody. For example, 1 day a week, I spend time volunteering with my church's high school ministry, and not only has it changed their lives, it's changed mine too. So find some way to make a difference and dive deep into that. And then finally, you should be shooting to read 100 pages a week. You're not going to be perfect with that, but if you set that as the baseline, you're going to be learning so much. Reading has changed my life, and it will change yours. It's how I leveled up above everybody else my age, and it's how you'll do the same. Because now everybody is just scrolling, they're watching Netflix, they're not developing their minds, they're just distracting them. But if you're intentional with that time and you're growing and gaining wisdom from people who have been there and done that, you will succeed so much faster than everybody else. Again, I'm not perfect with this routine. There are days where I'm nowhere close to this. But for the most part, I am proud to say that my discipline in sticking to a schedule like this has allowed me to have the success that I have in both my spiritual and my business life. Perfect balance is not real. There's going to be some times where you're more focused on business and some where you're more focused on family. But as long as you're keeping God number one, you're bringing him into everything you do. He's not separate from your business. He's not separate from your fitness. He is number one in all of that. Treat him like your CEO. Spend time with him, and I guarantee you will grow in all of these areas of your life. So ask yourself, what are 3 things you can take from this routine right now that you can plug in and make a massive difference in your life? Thank you so much, guys, for watching. I love you. Stay sharp.